Episode number 120. My brain is shot today. Come on, it's Christmas time. I work at a church. It's crazy. This is episode number 120. It's how many CTAs does a WordPress site need? And hopefully Robert will have the answer for that. So we'll make sure we introduce him in just a minute. But before we do that, we like to be rude and introduce ourselves. But before we do that, I do want to introduce and tell you a little bit about the sponsor that's helping us out with this particular episode of WPwatercooler's WPblab and all the other shows happening on WPwatercooler Network, and that is ServerPress. And they make a piece of software called Desktop Server. You can go figure out how you can do some local web development using that, build your own website, play around with it before you launch it out to the internet, and so on and so forth. So make sure you go take a look at them. You can go over to serverpress.com and find out all the cool information about them. Bridget, we're still being rude to our friend Robert. Tell us a little about yourself.
So my name is Bridget. I haven't changed it yet. Still Willard, and I am.
Were you gonna change your first name or your last name?
You know, I was thinking about changing it all, but then as a branding consultant, I said to myself, Bridget, everybody knows BridgetWillard.com. You can't just start calling yourself something else. It's a bad branding move, right? So Coke tried to do the new Coke. I think I'm always going to be BridgetWillard.com. I do social media management, especially for WordPress agencies and products, and you can find me at BridgetWillard.com. See, that's why I can't change my name.
Yeah, because it just wouldn't roll off the tongue like it has for 120 episodes. So we have Robert joining us today. Robert, tell us a bit about yourself.
A bit. So I've been doing social media brand content marketing for close to a decade, most of it being for me. And over the last several years, I've been doing it more for other clients. I have been teaching it kind of freelance on the side since about 2010. So that's a piece of it. And when I'm not actually doing this, preference is to be paddling out somewhere.
That's cool. You live a fun life, my friend. You live a fun life, and very, very cool. During the pre-show, you're telling us a little about your situation and your living situation, how things work, and just how the cool stuff that you have going on up there. Can you tell us about this without doing any OPSEC issues or anything like that regarding what you got going on?
OPSEC. You're not a dad to a Marine or anything.
I know, right?
Nope, they're going to come and bomb me. No, I'm living on the basically what amounts to the side of a cliff in one of the park systems here in Tacoma. And the houses are all set up on piling, so the entire house is actually over the water. So we get days like today where we've got 13-foot tides and a storm surge coming in, plus the winds. We'll get rolling whitecaps that actually crest the decks.
Wow.
So you can feel the house either shake underneath you as the waves hit, and you can feel the water hit the bottom of the house.
You literally live on a waterbed. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I'm literally on the water.
That's very cool, man. Very, very cool. So let's talk a little bit about what's a CTA? Like why do WordPress folks, people that use WordPress, people that code with WordPress, do design stuff, why do they need to worry about a CTA? Like what is it?
So the biggest thing is obviously CTA's call to action. And the idea is that if we don't add something, or at least a mentality from a marketing role, what is typically a marketing perspective, but really should be advertising, is that whenever we do something to try and get our customers or to try and provide information, we want something to convert with. And that's usually what that call to action is. So the idea has always been, if we put out an ad, we have to have some sort of call to action, something that drives somebody to do something. And it's just been that mentality that everything we do within online has to have some sort of call to action. It has to be something that will convert.
Okay. But the conversion part of it's important though too, right, Bridget? How do we even start with that?
So here's the thing. Robert and I are both kind of renegades when it comes to marketing. We like to do it by building relationships, not by like pounding you with cold calls. I mean, like we could just totally hijack our own show and talk about all the ways people do that on Instagram so hard, like it was Twitter in 2007. Like that is like they comment on a picture. Some guy was in Laguna Beach with his wife because I was just monitoring the hashtag, and they go, "That's so lovely. You should come in for our smile care service." I'm like, that guy doesn't live here. He's not going to go to the dentist, so he's on vacation. You idiot. So,
Okay.
So like Robert and I have these conversations, right? And then he was like, too many CTAs. I'm like, write a blog post on my site, bridgetwiller.com, which he did. And there's going to be a follow-up piece. So I'm like, because we're always like pushing. You need to tell people how to hire you, because when Jocelyn Mozak did a review of my website, she said, this is great that you speak, but you have no place where they can hire you to speak. And I'm like, well, it never occurred to me because I teach more camps, right? So like so that is too little. Too much is that like, act now. So Robert has like a good feel for this because he has a holistic marketing experience.
So I was totally approaching this the wrong way. My apologies.
Well, the funny thing is everything I do really comes down to things I've done in the real world and that connection. So how I approach social media and that relationship piece is the same way I used to cold call a network. It was never about walking in and selling something to someone. You'll walk into a networking group and the first thing you do is turn around and introduce yourself, hand them a business card. You're going to turn them off. It's no different than what you're posting on social media. The call to action piece is similar to walking into a store, and it's just simple human behavior at that point, which is also something I get back into constantly. That if you walk into a store and the first thing they do is ask you, can I help you? I mean, at least give me a chance to get in the door. I came to the store probably because I already knew what I was looking for and knew you had it and where I'm going. Leave me alone, let me go there and do it. Or I'm coming in because you probably could help me. I'm not sure what I need, and I'm an adult and smart enough to ask for the help I need. Okay? When I get there, say hello, welcome me, let me know if I need anything, and let me do my thing. Most of us are turned off if it's a pushy salesperson. And the problem with having too many CTAs, when I get to your website, and the first thing I do is see a pop-up after a minute of being on your site to join your email list. I don't even know what you're offering because I can't even read it because you threw a pop-up in my face. I'm not going to sign up for your list. It's just rude.
See, he's just me living on the side of a cliff. I love it. No, but I'm serious. Like, how many times are you blocking your own sales with the technology that other marketers tell you should use?
Well, and it gets in the way. I mean, I'm reading through something, and all of a sudden you basically walk up and interrupt me. Like, great, now I've lost my train of thought and I'm not interested. And if you keep doing it, it's worse. So this whole point that we keep trying to get people to convert, the idea is if you have something they want anyway, and they came there for a reason, and the reason you delivered an answer to, they're going to want more anyway. So there's no reason to keep shoving in their face. If anything, for me, call to action at the end of the post, something simple. If you need more help, if you're looking for something else, get in touch with us. They're going to. And if all they did was come because they wanted something very specific and you gave them those answers and they don't need anything else, well, you still did your job. There's this other mentality that everything we put out there, we need to use as a tool to convert. Okay,
so that goes to like, so before we start talking about link, like those slideshows, let's talk about, we've talked about what not to do. Let's talk about the appropriate amount of call to actions. What should a website for sure have?
Well, for sure, it has to have a contact page. I mean, obviously something simple. And it could be, just one contact page with a drop down for me that just gives you a couple of options so that they can choose what they want. It could be a series of different contact forms that are available on different pages. You could have one for a speaker page. You can have one for hire for social media management. It really depends on you at that point and how many you want to manage. And I think adding at least at the end of a blog post or piece of contact or content to ask if they have any questions or want any more information to get in touch with you, which would be a link internally to those pages. That would be at a minimum, and in some cases, that may be all you need. If you're running a site which is predominantly based on selling products or services, the content on those sites, those are where you want to convert. I don't need to convert on my homepage. I don't need a pop-up there necessarily. If you're looking to, and you put up a post or a page regarding an event you're doing or workshops you're running, obviously you're going to use that as a way to drive traffic to that workshop. So you want to build your email list for that purpose. That would be a page that makes sense. So and where those CTAs go and how many of them, it part depends on the specific content and what your goals are. But just this general broad, every page has to have a pop-up and can try and convert.
Okay, so let's talk about like probably at least half or more of our audience are WordPress developers who build websites. Do they need landing pages?
I was always under the impression that the landing page was the piece of content you wanted to land on. I mean, to build extra pages for me seemed to be one more step potentially to get them through. If you look at what shows up in a search, I want my content to show up in a search. I want them to get to what they want. I don't want to make them go through any more hoops. So I don't know, and I've never played with landing pages and felt them to be worth my time. It doesn't mean they're not effective. I think if you have an event, the landing page may make sense for that.
Yeah.
For everyday piece of content, I don't know.
Yeah, because I mean, obviously, like WordPress developers are going to have portfolios. You know,
right.
These are the sites I've built. Having a, you know, big giant call. I mean, everybody says like to have a call to action button just kind of at the top. Do you have any strong opinions about that? I know you were like super like link bait, clickbait stuff. You're just like, ah. But what about just on the portfolio page itself?
But on the portfolio page, which is what they're using as their primary sales tool at that point, it makes sense to add a call to action on it. Okay? If I've got to your portfolio page, that means I was interested in everything else you said, and now I want to see the work you've done.
Okay.
If we're talking about marketing funnels. The deeper you move through somebody's website, the more you move through those sites, is an indication that they want to be sold, or they're ready to be sold, or I hate using it that way, they're ready to buy.
Right.
So, or they're interested enough that you could ask them at that point. So again, if I'm walking through a retail store, as soon as I walk in, you ask me to help me, or hey, do you want to sign up for an email list the second I walk in the door? I'm going to be turned off.
So, but like, so somebody like me recommends people tweeting out those specific pages. So they could very well have just walked into this portfolio for the Rolling Stone, you know, website or something like that, right? So, you know, maybe they didn't go through the funnel. Maybe they didn't follow the yellow brick road to the perfect CTAs, because with search and with social, people aren't following a specific path anymore. That's gone.
Correct.
Right?
At the same point, then it goes to how the post is written on social media too. That if you're posting that this is an example of the work we do, I know if you're putting on and sending me to a page, or I'm going to a page truly to see the type of work, I've already been through that process, that whether it's on your page or your website, it's on somebody's website that I am looking for examples of work done because I'm in that buy position. I'm not going to be looking at your portfolio as a web developer if I have no intention of building a website. And if I already have the intention of having a site built and I'm looking at what you're doing, it's still an appropriate call to action.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I mean, so like with the pop-ups, Joseph Dixon in the chat is saying, join my mailing list seconds after I load the first page. And then Jocelyn is saying, that's why click to pop-ups work well. Have you used a click to pop-up?
I haven't. And this is true. I was thinking about this earlier. It's like the best time for me almost on a pop-up at that point would be at the end of an article. Kind of right before you get to the end, if anything else. And then a pop-up makes sense because you've gotten through 90% of the article. You've basically down to my signature line or my bio. And at that point, it can simply be, hey, glad you enjoyed the content, because obviously you did and you read all the way through it. If you got to where the pop-up triggers it, let's say 90% of the way through. If we can help you with anything else, let us know. If not, we appreciate your stopping by.
Yeah.
And then again, from a retail store, but at least you know they've consumed enough content that they'd be interested potentially in more.
So does that mean you're wanting to make sure that the person also doesn't have a dead end, that they'll end up wanting to leave the website, but rather you're giving them, if you made it to the end of this article, here's yet some more stuff you could look at? Is that kind of the mentality behind it, or how do you approach that?
It is to a point. Then we get into something about keeping people on sites. And at a certain level, it depends on what they came to your site for. If you're e-commerce and you need to be selling things, you want them to be staying on your site. It's the only way they're going to purchase anything.
Right.
If I write an article on my site and it's simply a matter of, hey, I have a question, I'm just looking for an answer, I have no intention of hiring anybody, I'm going to do research. They're not going to stay around to read anything else unless there's something exactly related to what they're doing, or another take on the same topic, or more information about the topic. Okay. In which case, I can provide that within the body of the post. So there's natural segues that if they want to learn more about a specific aspect I talked about, there's somewhere for them to go. You know, I look at my bounce rate sometimes and they're in the mid 80s, but my site's designed to be informational.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to ask you about, because people like see high bounce rates and they go, oh, that's terrible. And I go, but if I answered the question that they came here for, they don't need to stay on my site. And
exactly.
Wasn't that the purpose, is to answer the question?
Well, and then you get to a couple of things of what it is. And I don't believe Google looks per se at bounce rates. You know, if you spend 10 minutes reading my page or a page on my site, Google doesn't necessarily know how long you've actually been on the site, which is, again, why a triggered pop-up at the end gives me some indication that even though I have a high bounce rate, people are reading full through my content. What Google really tracks more than anything from a high bounce is that pogo bounce, where basically somebody finds a piece of content of yours. They get to your site, whether it's through search or whether it's through social media. They're there for a split second, and they go right back to where they were, especially if it's an organic search. That's an indication of whatever showed up in that search field convinced them to go through. They got there and realized, oh, no, this is not what I want. And that Google looks at, I think, is this, you almost tricked them into showing up on the site. But outside of that, it doesn't matter how long you've been on site. I think it pays more attention if you look at what your returning visitors are, your Google Analytics.
Yeah, and that's what Jocelyn's asking in the chat, Robert. Should we be watching the percentage of the new versus returning visitors?
So returning visitors means that people were on my site. They may have only read one page. They bounced 100% of the time, but they keep coming back for something new. They keep referencing or going back to the same research or reference information they had last time. The more they keep coming back, the more likely they are to convert later. And if they keep coming back, you don't need to offer them the CTA. The fact that they're coming back means you're giving them what they want. Ultimately, if they're going to purchase something, they're going to purchase through you. So again, looking at returning customers, looking at even just contact form submissions will give you ideas as to what people are doing on a site. It doesn't come down to that they have to be on and stay on my site. And to keep people reading through a site or keep people moving, one thing to provide internal links so that they actually get to other related content if they want it. It's another thing to actually make them need to click additional content to get the rest of their information. It's like reading into a book and going through, and I'm like, okay, I've got the page 4. Okay, see page 10 for the second, the next step. And then I got to go
choose your own adventure.
I'm done.
Yeah.
Which it might be good depending on the type of content you're doing, but if I'm trying to figure something out or I'm looking for information that I need, it used to drive me nuts when I was doing live research, decimal system and card catalog, going back a few years. And, you'd have to jump, you turn around and you go find a book. No, it's not in that book. Or it tells me, it gives me a link in that book that for their bibliography, they reference this book. So now I got to go pull that book. It's like, can't somebody just tell me everything so I don't have to keep bouncing everywhere for it? You're driving me nuts.
Based on that, the self-defined paths that a lot of websites have, where you go to the home page, it says, I am a marketer, agency, freelancer. And then based upon what you click, then you get this, custom yellow brick road. Do you have any thoughts about that? I think it's persona driven marketing funnels, or whatever they call it in the real world. Uh-oh. Did we lose Robert, or is it me?
No, it looks like
he froze.
Yeah, he's frozen.
Yeah, because that's like a lot of times people want those personas, and they, based upon the personas, they write the content. Like, do you write your content and then let the audience find you? Or do you write content for your audience that you decided based upon a persona? Like, all those calls to action have to be relevant too. So there he is. We lost you for a second. Yes.
Yep.
That's what happens when you live on the edge of a cliff, I guess. Sometimes you fall off of it. On that, if you can get a website where I actually get to the site and you can move me through it based on the information I'm looking for, which would be no different than setting up automation within emails, that I receive an email based on how I respond, it puts me into a different queue, which gives me a different set of emails. That would be awesome. In terms of what we write content for, there's two approaches on my end. One is to write the content you want to write and find a way to promote it to get the information out there, which social media, the way we do it. Okay? That'll get people back to the site on that end of it. And what I try to do as the mix in that, the other side, is to write the content that they're looking for specifically, even if it's not what I want to write. And the idea is, if you do this well, you kind of have this mix of pieces. So when I get asked about what kind of blog content should I write, some of it's specifically what your audience is looking for, or what your particular end user, your customer, would be needing. Those are all the questions I would get on a regular day. That I'd see these 3 people ask me, 4 people have been asking me this question. I'm going to write a blog post about it because it addresses something that's out there and it's likely to be something people are naturally searching for. The rest of the content I'm going to put out would be pieces that, like the last Gutenberg post, it hasn't seen a whole lot of traffic. But it's information that needs to be put out there, at least for one of them. And if it gets traction, it gets traffic. If not.
Yeah, a lot of times I write, and I know, Jason, you do this too. I write so that somebody asks me a question, now I'm answering it. If I answered it for them, I'm answering it for the world.
Exactly.
I mean, I know you said that, Jason, where you're like, I Google to find my own answers.
I Google and find my own answer. Not that I'm looking for it, but I'll have this question that I forgot that I figured out. I spent like hours answering myself. I write a blog post thinking somebody else would look for it. Probably no one else is looking for it but me. But when I go back to go look for it again, it shows up as like the first hit, and I'm like, oh, perfect. Okay, I can answer my own question now. Awesome.
Well, of course, part of that's because you wrote it. Google knows it, so it's showing you content that's related to what you do.
Sure.
Go do that. And I always laugh when I come back and the SEO people drive me nuts. It's like, well, we can get you ranked. You showed up on this. It's like, okay, now do an incognito search to see if you get the same results.
Right.
So, and I've had 2 people sitting side by side, take computers. It's like, okay, search for the same exact question. Hey, we got all different results. Yep. Because it's tailored based on your activity.
Well, it's also tailored based on your IP address too. So if you're sitting there on the same network doing it, it's like, here, incognito window, VPN, pretend that you're in Ireland, go.
Right.
Now tell me.
Yeah, and unless you actually know your customers, you don't know what they're searching for, which is why I love Twitter the most, because it's a free market research.
Exactly.
Everybody is talking about everything that they like. You know, if they like Elf on the Shelf, you know, if they like Star Wars, you know, if they're celebrating Hanukkah or Festivus, they're saying it. We're on a show, they're tweeting about their hamburger they just ate. You know, if they're vegans, you know, everything about them, because we all won't shut up about our lives. And that's the truth. It's funny because, like, you have this whole conversation about privacy, right, Jason? Like, oh, but Americans don't care. We just tell the whole world, I just got an iPhone 10R. Here's my new selfie. Come and steal it from me. You know,
Right.
like the security people are like, Bridget, stop telling everybody where you are, what you just bought.
I know. And then we're the same people that turn around and get all mad when Facebook says, oh, we had a data breach.
Right.
Well, guess what?
You've been living a data breach for years. I don't know what your problem is.
No, like, since we just hijacked ourselves, listen, I'm going to tell you, because I have a part-time travel job. So I read travel articles. The Marriott hotel group, okay, had a huge data breach with 6 million passport numbers.
Oh,
Wow.
Okay, passports. Facebook, I don't care. You can tell Nike that I wear Saucony shoes. Okay, I don't give a crap. My passport from Marriott, that's a little more. I mean, there's a big giant lawsuit. Nobody on Facebook has said one word. None of my friends. I've seen nothing on Twitter at all. But I'm telling you, a lot of us, when we go to WordCamp, stay at Marriott's or part of the SPG group of hotels.
Uh-huh.
And like, we are super vulnerable. And I think it's hilarious that none of my security nerds are talking about this at all, because nobody cares about the travel industry. But so the thing is, like, we care when we feel like it's weird, like the guy downstairs installing a camera in the garage where we do our laundry and then saying, oh, Wendy's the only one who doesn't take it out on time. Well, that means he's watching. It's not just like Ring on a thing on your door that's motion activated. It means he's out downstairs, the guy downstairs watching who comes and goes in our apartment. And I complained to the landlord, and he just said, oh, okay, whatever. You know what I'm saying? So there's no privacy. Okay, there's cameras everywhere. A cop was here. A cop was here yesterday because my package got stolen, or I thought it did. UPS just sent it to the wrong place. So anyway, so we asked the sheriff's department, and they go, no, we can't do anything about it. But if somebody has a drone with a camera, then it's peeping Tom, right? So we still have some privacy things, but he said, if you like undress with your window open, then you're an idiot. So like the stuff that we say on Facebook, the stuff that we say on Twitter, we're exposing ourselves. If we're exposing ourselves, then there's nothing you can do about it. But where you have a reasonable expectation of privacy, physically, we have that same digitally, right? So, all seriousness aside with security and being smart about what you're sharing on the internet, I'm sure it's not that bad if we know that one of our customers, went to Hawaii and swam with the turtles, or, likes LastPass, one pass instead of LastPass, or whatever. Like, the people that are talking to me, like, if I just went through my feed, I could tell you everything about it. So that's what I'm saying. Like, we can build a persona based upon some fake stereotype of Bob, the WordPress developer, who's 38 years old and lives with his mom still and likes Star Wars and Comic-Con.
You're getting really close to home here, my friend.
I love you.
Now she's just picking on Bob.
But I'm just saying, you can do that. You can stereotype it. But what happens if you follow the people? I had this conversation actually in Nijmegen with my friend Brecht. And I started saying this. He goes, oh, that kind of hits home. I go, does it? But do you still, and my other friend, Yaron, he said, well, I used to live with my parents, but I don't anymore. I bought my own house. Right. I used to be single, but not anymore. I bought my own house. I got married. I used to like craft beer, but but now I just don't like an IPA. I'd rather have a Stella, like, because we evolve as people. So personas are a stereotypical snapshot in time. And when we're engaging with our audience on social, then we know exactly what they want. And so for me, I took 5 minutes to say this, but I'm trying to make a point, right? I see what people are tweeting about. And then, Siri, I wasn't even talking to you. Shut up. Oh my God, the iPhone 10R. Hey, so Stillwater sounds. Oh,
and now your dog's like, what the heck? Who is that lady?
I know. Now my dog is barking at the. Okay. Anyway, my point is that this is the way I've written my content. I see somebody talking about something that I write, or, oh, I don't want to write my bio. I don't want to, I need help with my WordCamp talks. You see it, right?
Right.
So one of the really good things about you, Robert, is that you're very immersed in the engagement part of social, not just the pushing part. Can you talk a little bit about how the engagement is actually a better call to action?
Well, it's pretty simple. We have this whole mentality about, again, it goes back to like those networking groups for me. If all you do is walk in, say hello to everybody, hand them a new card, introduce yourself, and move on to the next person, right? You ultimately are going to be turned off by it. Or people are going to be turned off by it. And I found very quickly back years ago that if I just simply sometimes just stood there and just listened to what else was going on, and somebody would open up and say something, and I would be able to actually add value to the conversation, or at least step in and kind of, add something, they left an opportunity. You can actually have a conversation and essentially hijack that conversation and have it turn to you and want people asking you for more information. Okay? It's the same goal. Ultimately, then you start getting them looking for you, and then that's at that point where they would want your business card. Okay? You at least know they're interested. So my call to action at that point wasn't me saying, hey, listen to me. It was adding something that made them want to know more. So it's doing the same thing on social media. Again, people aren't going to just naturally see content in news feeds anymore. It's rare. And if all we're doing is simply putting out content for hoping that somebody sees it, it's pretty much a crapshoot at that point. Right? You're doing a whole lot of work to potentially get a single post seen, which is probably going to get you not much of anything anyway, because how many times when you see a post in a news feed do you actually stop and read it?
Well,
every time. But the average person, especially if it's from a business, doesn't. And if you read it, how likely are you to engage with it? And how likely are you even beyond that to go see what else that business has written? So if nothing else, I may get a piece of engagement on a single post. My preference, so I don't worry about reach naturally anyway. The idea is that I'm spending my time interacting with what others are doing. I'm adding value. I'm pretty much, they're asking the questions like you're saying. You can come back and give them a piece of advice. You're creating that opportunity for them. You're getting involved in a conversation. You're making yourself visible and going to where other people are on the terms that they want to be. So it's their conversation. They're in control of it. You're simply adding it. They don't have to go anywhere. They don't have to do anything. You're not making them jump through any hoops. They don't have to come find you. Went to them. And the idea is ultimately, if they do have that interest and you have this conversation with you and they are looking for something, they will find your properties. They're going to find your profiles and your pages. And the interesting thing about us is that when we get to a business page or profile for the first time, we rarely, if ever, will stop at the first tweet or Facebook post. We're going to continue reading down.
Right.
So instead of doing all this work to potentially get a post seen, and having to write this and hope it shows up and play all these games and try and beat the algorithm, I'm just going out and having fun. And as long as you have good content to support it when somebody does come looking, you're spending your time effectively playing because nobody looks at what dates posts were done unless they're time sensitive.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go back to your page or you go to my page or a couple of the other ones, I have no idea when those posts were written. It's evergreen content, essentially, unless you're talking about, hey, it's a Christmas post. Obviously, then if I was afterwards, I know it's been 6 months. So I'm doing all of this and spending less time writing, but I'm drawing people back in. And I'm giving them something up front of value before making them take an action. Because that's my other thing with these CTAs that people go through is like giving away content. And that last article you sent is like, give them something to get them to sign up for your mailing list. Well, A, we don't ask people value things that we get for free most of the time. And that's pretty typical. And if it may be something of value, and I've had this situation arise where there is something I wanted, it looked like it would be what I needed, but I don't know until I give you my email address. So I have an email address that's actually designed for that. I never check it. So I'm not getting any of your emails anyway. You essentially gave me what I wanted for nothing. Or I'm going to instantly unsubscribe the next time I get an email for you, or I'm just going to mark it as spam. That's even worse. So it's an ineffective way to build a list by giving people something. Yet if you provide value up front and you show them what you have to offer, they're more likely to come back afterwards.
I think this goes back to vanity metrics. Like people want to say, oh, I have this many people on my email list.
Well, and I go through the same thing. It's what? Oh, it was a tweet that I got this morning. I had one guy, social media marketer, a couple 100,000 followers, 1 million followers, whatever it was. It's like, all right, I'll follow. Within half an hour, I get a tweet back. Obviously, it was automated. How's your social media marketing working for you? Do you know if it is working or not? And I'm like, you've got to be kidding. So I called him back out on it. I said, yep, I know it's working. I've got all the metrics to prove it, even my own custom ones I've created, blah, 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 whatever. And it's like, all of that was an effort to build followers. It's like, and the whole idea is that one, build followers, and two, it's, what was the analogy I was playing with this morning and running through my head? It's kind of like this whole carpet bombing thing. Right? Marketers and it doesn't matter, it's the pop-ups for websites and the calls to action, everything else. They're hoping that if they get enough people to click on one of these calls to action, they'll get something from it. And kind of like it's from a law enforcement piece. So if you got one suspect is holed up somewhere within a city block, right? You have two choices. You can either bomb the entire block and know, hey, I got him. Probably got a couple others that deserve to be gotten, but I got what I wanted. As opposed to going in and doing these little surgical strikes and doing some research first and finding out where they're likely to be and putting together a plan or a strat and tactics in order to get this person. Right? None of our marketing anymore, especially online, is designed to be tactical. We're not looking for a particular audience. We just throw it out there and try and grab everybody and hope we get one or two in this little net.
Yeah.
And I don't need 1,000 followers on Facebook. You don't need 1,000, 1 million followers on Twitter. If you have them and you grew them organically, that's great because then they want to be there. And it's one thing to look at, they showed up because they wanted to, not necessarily because they followed them back. I have a lot of times I won't follow people back if there's no interest in if I have no interest in their content. It doesn't do them any justice. And you'll watch, if they drop off afterwards within a couple of days, they only followed you to get the follow-up.
Right. It's a game. So, to me, that's just inflated Rice Christian tactics that don't work in the missionary field. They don't work in marketing because human behavior is human behavior. And so, I mean, you could say that you have X, and the only reason you really need that number of followers, number of is the validation. I mean, at some point you do need a certain amount. You can't say you're a social media expert and have 168 followers, okay, on Twitter. That's just ridiculous. But just because you have 10,000 doesn't mean you know what you're doing or that you do it well.
Well, and that's just it. So there's two pieces. If you build, well, and some of us, so the second part of that, I think my Facebook page after 3 years still only has about 410 followers or likes on it. But when you look at my engagement rates, you know, everybody's worried about reach, and I much prefer to use something that I look at as effective reach and how well I'm actually getting to the audience that I want. That's upwards of about 25 to 30% on average.
So, because that goes into the question Jocelyn's asking in the chat, do you ever review the stats on your posts for Facebook and pull the ones that don't appear to be performing? Like, do you delete posts if they don't seem like they're performing? Or do you just, like for me, I don't, because I don't post stuff that's just, I don't post junk just to post.
Well, and that's just it. I don't have a habit of deleting anything online, period. In terms of not performing, then we get to look at, okay, what do you define as performing? Did it get enough likes? Did it get enough comments? I mean, hey, I've had posts where they would see, it's when I was just looking at this the other day. And it used to be a case of, if you go deep enough into your Facebook insights, you can actually see, they made it easier now, negative feedback. How many people hit the post, how many people hit all posts. And it used to be as like, all right, I'm doing a really good job. I'm not getting anybody to hide all my posts or do it. I'm like, the last 3 posts I put up, I had at least one hide a post. And I had one post where 2 people hit all posts. I'm like, yes, because I knew I hit a nerve somewhere. I knew somebody read that. So even if there's no reach on it, it got something for me. There was some value behind it. And again, brought back to that human behavior piece. We don't always engage. I can read 1,000 articles and I can take in that information. I can bookmark sites, but never comment on them. And when I'm ready to purchase, I'll still go back to that site. Okay? And you have no idea which page or which post it was. So you could be deleting the one post that was actually the trigger, even though it never received any engagement.
Yeah, I don't delete posts, but I definitely go in and edit them. So for instance, when I go and write some crafty little dumb posts that I'll put on Facebook about something, some observation, it's almost like being on stage doing like comedy or something. Like you tweak it until you get a laugh, or you tweak it until you get a whatever. I've gotten to the point now where I'll actually go into Canva and I'll put together a quick little like graphic with like text on top of it. So that way you have an image that actually shows up, and I'll change the image 3 times in a day just to see if I get something different out of my friends and family. Oh, it has nothing to do with money. Like I'm not selling anything. I'm not doing anything special. I really just want to see, like, could I get 4 more likes out of this? Let's find out. And so I'll flip it and try a different one just to see what happens.
Are you a second child, Jason?
No, I'm a first child.
That's interesting.
I'm the oldest child.
Yeah. Okay.
But no. But what I'm saying is that if I'm spending time and energy to craft up this thing, and I'm going to edit it because I obviously am going to misspell something. I always misspell something. I'm going to use improper grammar. I always use the wrong grammar. All of those things. I mess up all sorts of stuff. But because
off-brand for you at this point.
Right. But I definitely will make, if I'm going to make one graphic, and I already spent the time going on to canva.com, making the graphic, putting all the pieces together, why don't you just make 3 of them? So I make 3 of them. I save them on my desktop. And if I don't like the first one, I'll just go in there and swap the other one while I'm at work. It's like, done.
Well, here you go. But that is actually how marketing is supposed to be done.
A/B testing. Dude, he's naturally A/B testing.
Robert, I'm telling you right now, dude. I used to despise marketers. Like I was like, marketing is crap. Marketing is absolute crap. But then Bridget's like, oh, we should do a social media marketing show. I'm like, sure, but I'm just going to be the non-marketing person. I'm more of a marketing person. It's insane the amount of marketing crap that I do. But I'm not doing it for anything other than just like, I have this little monkey here, and I'm going to take a picture of him, and I'm going to take another picture of him, and put some different text on it with different fonts. And that's what gets people to go and start liking it.
I've heard you.
Right?
You guys both have a monkey? Is it the MailChimp?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, he's still got his little tag in here. This one's an old marketing thing from one of my old businesses. But
yeah, mine got totally jacked up. I have dogs and destroyed it.
I have Buddy, the beaver from Beaver Builder. So there.
Yeah, if you want to play around with this sort of thing, do what I'm doing and market to your own people that are just looking on Facebook. Just they're at the grocery store and they're flipping through this stuff. Try 3 or 4 different graphics and change the graphics, change the text on it, change the first set of text in it, change the first paragraph of it. I mean, you can do all those things yourself on just your own posts about stuff.
But the interesting piece, like Bridget said, it's A/B testing. And it comes down to a couple of pieces. What you're doing is just natural. So the problem that I've always had with marketing, why I ended up with the social media marketing side of this piece, is because I had a problem with most marketing people. And I remember the first time a radio exec came in to my business, I just started, it was late 98. And the 2 ladies walked in and, trying to get me to buy 60-second ads and do all this. And you can get this much reach. This is our demographic, the size of the audience on the show. And I'm like, okay, how much? It's like this. So, and you're going to guarantee me that I'm going to reach that many people. Well, no, that's just how many you can. So that means I'm paying you to get something less than that based on the price to get all that. So how about you go back to your boss and charge me based on how many people I actually reach? Well, we can't do that. That's like, and this is how marketing works. You could potentially get 40 million people on this Facebook post. So I'm going to charge you based on 40 million people. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't happen. So the whole piece turned me off, right? So I went back to the ads I ended up doing were little 15-second spots, were simply just branding. Just get my name out there, nothing else. But the rest of it, do a piece. Everything else was done natural. Everything else was tried to be organic. What you're doing is just natural. Something doesn't work, you try something else.
Well, that's what makes it work. And I think that people try to make it, people try to over-tool things, which is my segue to the tool tip of the week.
Check you out.
Robert's
like, the what? I'm doing what? We're talking about.
I forgot to tell you, we had the tool tip of the week at the 45-minute hour mark. So this is mine. It's a one line a day. It's called a 5-year memory book, and Kitty Lou actually gave it to me. And so what it does has it's just so funny because Jason and I keep talking about making a journal, and people keep giving me.
Maybe in 10 years we'll figure out how to do it. Right?
Okay, so it has July 20th, and it has 5 different sections. So you write in the date and you say what you did, So December 20th, I worked for 3 hours on my website. I got an iPhone XR. Why is it a 10R? It has an X and then an R, and then you're supposed to say 10, and then you're supposed to say whatever.
Because they want you to say it 3 or 4 times, so it works out. So totally works out that way.
Anyway, the reason why it's so stupid. Anyway, their marketing is so meta that they're not even thinking about what people say when they see a letter next to another letter. They just say letters. If it was iPhone X, we would say iPhone 10. You put a letter after it, and then it's not Roman numerals anymore unless it was a V, and then you would say 15. But anyway, so 5-year journal, and so Kitty gave this to me. She's like, you need to remind yourself of the things you're grateful for. So I'm going to do it because it's on my desk now, so it's going to be incorporated into my life. Because you know what? My job, my profession is all about it. I started with accounting, right? And then now I'm doing all this. So I'm always proofreading, and I'm always looking for the mistakes. And so that's super good for my career. It's super bad for my personal life.
Especially when you start looking at people and saying, I see mistakes.
I know, I can't be on Tinder and saying you spelled this wrong. It's just I just swipe till they'll accept me so I can correct their bio.
You're like, can now be $20. Thank you.
You know what? I should do that. I would charge more.
Tinder.
You're writing bios. You can just do Tinder bios. There's your call to action. Now doing Tinder bios.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, or Bumble. But there's a new one called Hinge. I'm not getting on that.
I'm so glad I don't have to go on any of these really weird named companies' sites. Oh my gosh. Can you imagine? I mean, come on, Bridget, 15-year-old, you're going to tell 15-year-old Bridget, just so you know, at some point you're going to have to go on these websites called Bumble, Tinder, and Hinge. You know, it's
no,
like,
we just met people in bars. Like, and then we liked each other, and then we got married.
It's like, wait, are people not allowed to go outside anymore? What the heck's going on in the future?
It's so weird. Anyway, yes. Being gratitude with a paper, you know, because it's a different neurological process. In all seriousness, when you physically write, there's a different process in your brain than when you type. So I advocate for it highly. As you could see, I have real books.
This is posting, right?
This is my book. What the heck's paper? I don't have paper in here.
Oh man.
Oh man. Somebody asked me if I had a pencil or a pen or something. I'm like, no. I don't have any of those sitting there in my office. I'm sorry.
You just talk to Siri. You just say, hey,
I have a
Siri.
paperless office. Yep, I have a paperless office.
Oh shit, she just turned on again.
So speaking of paperless offices, I'll tell you what my tool or tip of the week is. So I've been using this app for quite a few years now, and it's from what I see now, just looking in the App Store, it's the number 5 app in the utilities section of the App Store for the iPhone, and the app is called Just Press Record. Okay. And Just Press Record is awesome. You just push a little button right here, no joke, and it just records your voice, so you can see the little wave as you're recording it. And then when you hit stop, it records. You know, it actually does the recording. But then if you tap on it, you can actually tell it, I want you to dictate it. It'll actually go and give you what the words were that were said.
Shut up.
So, and it does it all for you. You don't have to do anything special. I've gone to meetings where I've been in there for a 2-hour meeting. Everyone knows I'm hitting record. You've gone through all of that. You set this thing on the desk. You hit record. It records it. You're done. You hit transcribe. It'll transcribe it on the phone. Doesn't cost you anything extra, and you're done. And if you have a newer version of an Apple Watch, that's not the first one like what I have, you could actually use the Apple Watch app to hit record and record a quick little message. So if you want to remember something, you can hit Just Press Record, hit record, say what you got to say, and now you'll have it sitting in there waiting for you to listen to.
That's awesome.
It's awesome.
And so if I don't have paper, I'll forget the notes were there.
Yeah. I'm not going to remember paper. Yeah, paper. I don't take paper with me, but Just Press Record's awesome, and it's a great way of being able to just take that data and use it. And you're going to have a lightly transcribed. It's not going to be 100%. It's as good as like what Siri does, but it's going to be able to take the words that you said and actually turn it into text, and you'll be able to do a quick little search for it. So, for instance, what happened with me is I went to a conference and someone was talking about Chromebooks. And it was the only time that I was in any talk where someone was talking about Chromebooks, and I wanted to find it, and I wanted to find the exact spot when he was talking about it. So I loaded that app, I did a quick little search, and it found me the exact spot that I needed to be in for the word Chromebook. And now I can hit play and listen to the rest of the talk and not have to like spend an hour or whatever listening to his entire talk, but just find that exact spot where they were talking about it.
Can you use that for blog posts?
Probably. There's some other tools that you could use that would be a little bit better or better suited for that. But yeah, you could definitely do it for blog posts if you wanted.
That's cool. Do you have a tip you want to share with us now that we put you on the spot?
Not put me on the spot. Post-it notes.
I love Post-its.
Oh, you're killing me, you guys. You dang analogers.
There you go. Old school pen, paper.
What are you going to fidget with if you don't have, okay, so Robert, it's funny you do that because when I first started doing this show with Jason 3 years ago, I would have this in my hand, but like this, like down off camera. He goes, what is that noise? What is that noise?
Because I always listen to the show after the fact. So like I'll be in the car and I'll listen to it and I'm like, the heck's that noise? And I'm like turning down, like slowing my car down. I'm like, what's that noise? And it kept this like, I'm like, oh my gosh. Wow.
I'm not doing it. I'm not touching anything. I basically have to sit on my hands because I'm always like, I'm one of those annoying people that like clicks pens. I had to be good for an hour. It was such a great show. For real, thanks for being spontaneous and flexible and adaptable. It just goes with your brand, Robert. If you wanna read Robert's post on CTAs, or your CTAs turn you off, I found a great image for that. You can go to bridgetwheeler.com. Robert, tell us a little bit about more what you do in the WordPress community and where people can find you.
So what I do for clients at this point becomes a combination of everything. I've tied social media to search engine optimization to websites and tied all the content piece of it in, so it all actually gets brought together. That everything is designed to work as part of a system. Marketing is not just one particular piece. You can't just build a website. You can't just hire somebody to do search engine optimization. It's for social media. It has to be looked at as a holistic piece. So I'll work with clients either completely from start to finish. Most of my clients these days are completely redoing a website or don't have one. I'm still finding those. And we're doing everything from the brands and the imagery all the way up through building out the site, optimizing all the content, linking Google Analytics, Search Console, setting up the metrics for them to measure, putting together the social media profiles and pages, or updating what's out there so they have this consistent piece. Or I can work on any specific level of it, whether it's just from simple questions to, hey, running an entire campaign part of it, just because it all flows together. Easiest place to find me is going to be on Twitter. It's at @rnissenbaum. Easiest place to get a hold of me, quickest. But obviously, if you look for me, I'm everywhere.
When you're not kayaking, you're tweeting.
When I'm not. I haven't figured out how to do the tweeting from the kayak yet.
I guess maybe the Apple Watch, if it was waterproof.
Yeah, if possible. Of course, when I'm out on the kayak, I don't necessarily care about tweeting.
Yeah.
Just yell at Twitter and Siri just goes like, I don't know what he said, something about water or whatever. Okay.
I know. They're supposed to say, hey Siri. Oh, there she goes again.
I don't think Bridget's ever listened to a podcast, but that's like that's like one of the 5-letter words you're not, or 4-letter words you're not.
Like I never had a phone that did that. I went from an iPhone 6 to
you
that
can turn
XR.
that off. I turn it off. I talk to mine and it won't even listen to me unless it's unlocked.
Okay, in the last 2 minutes, since we're talking about this, I got it all synced up with my car and everything, right? And then I go, hey Siri, do I have any messages? And it says, you have to unlock your iPhone first. And I'm like, I thought the whole point was to not touch your phone. You had one job.
If it's unlocked, then you're fine. But if you have it locked,
but it locks, and then you have to touch it so it'll look at your face.
All right, I'll give you one tip. So if you have it like this, where you can actually see the screen, this thing's always listening. If you flip it upside down and go downwards, it will no longer listen to you.
Okay.
Yep. It also puts in like a do not disturb mode type thing when you set it down.
Face down in the corner, it will not listen to you.
Yep. Yeah. Face down like in the corner.
That's corner.
Be quiet.
Awesome. Well, this has been a really great episode. You want to close this out?
Sure. I want to say thank you very much for everyone that was hanging out in our chat room. It was really cool having you interact with us. It's always good to have more than just the 3 or 2 of us hanging out and talking. So it was really good to kind of get those folks hanging out there and chatting away as well. I want to say for everybody that was watching this on Periscope, that was watching this on YouTube, watching this on Facebook, thank you very much for doing that. If you want to learn more about this content and other content like it, you can go over to WPwatercooler.com/subscribe. So you can learn about all the different ways that you can subscribe to this content. If you don't want to watch us, but you want to listen to us, you can also do that as well. We're a podcast, and we show up on all of the podcast networks that are out there. So feel free to do a search for that. Any podcatcher out there, we're on all of them. So feel free to go do that. Even iHeartRadio, which is like Bridget's favorite.
iHeartRadio.
Yeah, they don't pay me for you to do that, but hey, there's that as well. Lastly, if you like this content, please give it a thumbs up. If you have more than a couple seconds, you can also go and leave us a comment. Leave a comment on any of the places that you're watching this. We monitor all that stuff, and I would love to be able to see that you're listening and that you enjoyed the content that we're doing and all those sorts of things. Again, big shout out over to Desktop Server over at ServerPress for helping us out as well. I'll talk to y'all later. You have a good Christmas and a good New Year, because we're going to be getting into that stuff as well. So thank you very much, everybody. You have a good one. Talk to y'all later.